Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is Greg Aden with the Servant Leadership Podcast, and I have a great pleasure of introducing you all to a wonderful man. His name is Anthony Lambatos of Footers Catering. Welcome, Anthony.
Thank you, Greg. It's an honor to be with you today, and really appreciate you having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and really why do you do what you do, Anthony?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I love that you dig into the why. So yeah, my wife April and I own Footers Catering, which is a second generation family business that my dad actually started. We're celebrating 40 years in business this year, so it's
Awesome.
pretty exciting. But 10 years ago, my wife and I purchased the business from my dad. And you asked that question, why? I grew up saying I would never work in the catering business. Watching my dad do it and see, I mean, he just is a consummate host and hospitality professional and loves the business. And it was always hard for me to get over that because I didn't have that same passion for it.
Sure.
And our joke, my sister and I would say, if you want to see dad, you got to go to work because that's where he'd love to spend his time. And so I got a good glimpse growing up and I just said, nope, not for me. I'm going to do something else. Went off to school, studied business, and had a few things just changed the course of my life, and ended up back working for my dad for a period of time. And I was really struggling at one point with where I was at, and I appreciated the fact that I could shape where the business was going, and we could make a lot of changes. But I was just trying to figure out if this was really the path, if I was going to stick in it. And had a mentor of mine, Bob Carruthers. He was my Vistage chair at the time, and I said, Bob, I really miss my calling. And he said, what do you mean? I was like, I should have been a college basketball coach. That's what I should have. What I should have been, what I should be doing, and the path I should be on. He said, well, why, Anthony? And I said, well, here's the thing. Like, I love competition and strategy and the game plan that you have to put together when you go to face another team.
Right.
And in college, you get to recruit people to come be part of your team. And so you get to bring the people that you want to be part of it. And in college, they're still looking to grow and improve their skills and hopefully get to that next level. So I like helping people get to that spot. And then once you have them all together, you figure out how they work together as a team and how that can all come together. And college coaches, they wear nice suits, and I kind of like to wear
Sure.
suits, so that works too.
Right.
And he looked at me and he said, Anthony, you have opportunity to do all that right now at Footers. And
Mm.
from that day forward, my whole view of what I was doing changed. It wasn't me coming to work being a caterer. It was me coming to work to be a coach and
Yeah.
to give my team the tools they need to be successful. That's how I started looking at my job, and not necessarily about, what menu we were going to serve or how we were going to execute this event, but as a much bigger picture of how do we create an amazing group of people that can work together, that can do awesome things. So when you ask, why do I do what I do? That's at the core of what I love and I'm passionate about. And it all kind of centers around how do we create a great place to work and bring out the best in our people.
Absolutely. I want to dig into that coach word for a minute. I'm assuming you played some basketball in your day?
I did. Yeah. At 5'10", when I stopped growing, that kind of ended my dreams of further playing basketball much
Sure.
later than high school.
So were you inspired by one of your coaches to be a coach, or when you started to have children, or when did you really decide you wanted to coach or have that coach bug in your life?
Oh, I think, well, first is my love of sports. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a piece of it. I grew up just playing all sports and participating in football and basketball and track and swimming and anything I could. I just love it. And I love being part of sports. I think it just is such a great microcosm for what we deal with in life, and puts you to the test, both mentally, physically, and especially
Absolutely.
team sports. I think there's a unique aspect about that. But I coached swimming in the summer. It was kind of something I stumbled into when I was 18 years old. I got too old. I would just, uh, swim to keep in shape over the summer. I wasn't an uberly competitive swimmer,
Mm.
but my coach said, hey, will you come join us next year? And I said, sure. Yeah. And the difference you can make in somebody's life, and these were kids from 5 to 18, but
Sure.
helping them not just with how they approach the races, but just, I mean, they come talk to you about anything, these kids, which was amazing. And to be a positive influence in their life, to be around that, and to have the vehicle be that sports aspect and competition and challenge. it was so fulfilling for me. And so that started me on a little bit of a coaching career. I've coached some basketball, but business coach, that's where I've kind of settled in.
Well, you said fulfilling, and I have some similar experiences. I got into coaching youth basketball because I actually had too many tickets, so I got my license taken away. And so for the summer, I had restricted driving, but I had an opportunity to work for the do community service. So it was either pick up trash or volunteer with the YMCA. So Boys Club of America. So I did Boys Club, and they said, okay, for 4 weeks, you're going to have 9 to 12-year-old kids coming to this gym, and you're going to run the summer camp for us. I thought, this isn't work. This is going to be a blast.
Right? Much better than
So
picking up trash.
yeah, so I love the 10 and 11-year-olds and the 12-year-olds because they were there to play. The 8 and the 9-year-olds were there to kind of just run around and hop up and down on the bleachers. But the parents, as the days would go by, they came back, and I believe they were kind of amazed that we actually were running drills and playing some games, and everyone was participating. But it's interesting, even as a young man, I realized what an opportunity to help somebody else, be a part of their life, be another outlet for conversation, and so many interesting conversations back then. And that desire to help somebody else was then instilled in me at a young age, and it sounds like you as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And it is a fulfilling feeling when you are able to serve somebody else. And talk more to us about what Footers Catering is all about, how you serve the community, and I really want to dig into team, your coaching, and your leadership. Then we're going to jump into leadership as a big topic.
Yeah, so when April and I purchased the business from my dad, our number one focus was how do we create a great place to work? That was more important than being the biggest caterer in Denver or winning awards. We just said if we're going to come to work every day, we want it to be fun and we want our people to enjoy it. Because if they love what they do, and that's the first part of our mission statement,
Sure.
they're going to give a higher level of service than otherwise. If you don't like what you do, it's hard to excel at it. And so we wanted to create an environment where people could really thrive. And the second part of our mission statement is make it better every day. And we have our acronym MIBE for that.
Yeah.
But why I think that's important is not just the fact that we've been in business for 40 years and we don't want to do the same thing we did 40 years ago. We want to keep improving.
Sure.
But when people take pride in what they do and they work toward improving every single day, that also builds so much confidence and momentum within a group. Where you see somebody else doing awesome work and doing really cool things, you're inspired to work a little bit harder and push your boundaries so that you can uphold your end of the bargain when it comes to working together as a team. So we have an incredible team, and they were the ones that came up with that MIBE acronym. So you'll hear at our shop, people will be like, oh, that's a good MIBE, and oh, you're MIBEing that.
Yeah. I on a side note, Anthony, I want to thank you for including me on the MIBE newsletters. I'm starting to receive them now, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, good.
I mean, as a business co-owner, you work with April on this, I'm assuming, and throughout the week, you guys are accumulating thoughts and messages that you can put in your newsletter or your message, and it helps cement who you are. And it also inspires others, like myself, other business owners, and well, wait a minute, maybe we should have something that is continually sending good messages to the most important people in our life. And I was listening to Simon Sinek on the way to the studio, and he was talking about the distinction between family and work. And a lot of us say, well, my work is like family. And he wants us to consider work is family. It is, if you treat them like your family, and I believe you are, I can tell by the smile on your face and your head going north and south that you and April already do this. And help me understand, why do we believe some leaders don't take care of their employees like family? Why do they want to be hierarchical, arrogant, and not really serve and coach and really teach them all the finer points of life? Why do you think leaders haven't gotten that message?
I have a couple of thoughts on that. Number one, I think there's too much emphasis on short-term results right now. I think, we're facing a leadership crisis of sorts in our country, where you look at our political figures and our, how we celebrate reality TV stars, and overemphasis on quarterly earnings. There's this desire for what can you do for me today? Quick turnaround. We got to get this done. So when you think about servant leadership or heart leadership and investing in people, that's a long-term play. That's something where you don't see a result tomorrow. That's something where we're going to see results down the road, where you're going to stay, instead of for 6 months or a year, you might stay for 5 years or 8 years and add a lot more value to a company. So I think that that's the first problem, is that people are just so focused on those short-term results. The second thing, if you look on a balance sheet, which we as business owners have to pay attention to, nowhere on the assets is employees, right? But on every P&L, on the costs is the labor, right?
Yeah.
And so we have for too long started to look at labor as a cost, and not focused enough on it being an asset and what people are bringing to the table, because it isn't always measured in a dollar figure. And so I think that also compounds why people have a tendency to shift in that direction. And at the end of the day, leadership's hard, right? There's emotions that are involved. It's not an exact science. It's not a formula of do X, Y, and Z. It's about people and relationships. And so when you have to work a little bit harder, and it's not just, decision to cut this or add this, that's hard for people when you're strapped for time, and it's an investment. So those are my thoughts on maybe why not everybody gets it and not everybody subscribes to that same, philosophy that maybe you and I do.
So, well, you brought up leadership. Certainly one of my favorite topics is servant leadership. I'd love to pick your brain, Anthony, on what does servant leadership mean to you, and if you subscribe to it, why?
For us, we took that concept, and I think it aligns a lot, and we use it, the word heart leadership. To me, at that core is, how do you serve other people? It's exactly what it says. As a leader, instead of that, I'm at the top and I'm, trying to figure out what can everyone do for me, it's flipping that on its head, and kind of what I mentioned of every day, my job is to give my team the tools they need to be successful, and then get out of their way. And so for us, we took it, maybe a little variation, and started talking about heart leadership, because when it's heart leadership, now there's compassion that's involved. And instead of thinking and leading with our head, we're leading with our heart. And there's one of our convictions through My Tribe, which is our sister company, is value people for more than the job they do. And for me, for too long, there's been, work and personal life have to be separate. And I don't necessarily agree with that. If your personal life is in shambles, then it's going to affect how you show up at work. And if you're not doing well at work, it's going to impact on a negative level what your personal life looks like. And so we have started to look at this whole person concept and say, okay, when you come in, how can we serve you? How can we help you be the most successful, reach your full potential, both as personally and professionally, because those two things are going to go hand in hand.
Absolutely. And I love the way you're looking at the whole person. I'm not one that has ever subscribed to the work-life balance. I believe your life is either in balance or it's not. And not everybody walks around in a perfect form or all in balance any time. And like you said, there's home and work, but it's our life. And I believe when you brought up coaching earlier, when you were most fulfilled as a coach and now as a leader and a co-owner, aren't you as fulfilled helping the human being versus just the player or just the employee? Yes?
Well, for me, it's about making a difference in someone's life. I mean, when you serve somebody or help somebody, that's, I think that's a great thing, and you can feel good about that. But on a deeper level, when you're talking about that fulfillment, it's that, you maybe change the trajectory of where somebody was going. And sometimes you'll never know that happened. And that's okay. That's not the, end result. But when you hear those stories, you're on the right path, and that it's probably happening more frequently than you know.
Yeah, part of servant leadership for me, or heart-led leadership, I'm sure with you, Anthony, is we serve without attachment.
Yes.
We provide the tools so that you can do better. We serve you. We listen to you. We provide opportunities for growth. And sometimes leaders, if you're listening, you're not going to get a thank you note or an attaboy. You'll get an employee who feels valued, seen, heard, appreciated. And oftentimes, and you may or may not agree with me, Anthony, I don't know that money is ever in the top five of reasons why people, they may take a job because of money, but I don't believe they stay with someone because of money. It's those other 4 or 5 things that are more important.
Oh, I 100% agree with that. I think I have a myriad of statistics on it, but it's quickly becoming, I don't even think I think one of the last stats I saw was like 40% of people, a great place to work, a great, company culture was their top priority,
Yeah.
above money. And so people will pay less to go, or be paid less to go work at some of those organizations. And I think that, yeah, it's very telling.
Yeah, when I look back with my 30 years in hospitality, 13 and a half of them were in a commission-based position where I was in franchise sales and development. And to be honest, I don't know that I ever looked at a deal, getting a license executed, as how much am I going to get paid? I enjoyed the checks when they came in and the commission, the bonuses and such, but I just loved what I did. And I believe when somebody hears servant leadership or heart-led leadership, they believe that we want everyone to have fun. And it's really just the opposite. Is, of course, it's to have fun, but it's not, you don't come here to play, you come here to work, but while you're here, we want you to enjoy yourself. God forbid you're going to spend 50, 60, 70 hours in an organization and you want to go home and say, I can't wait to go back, versus, oh, I wish this was over. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that you bring up such a good point, and it's a something that I think I had to get a better understanding of, that this idea that play and fun at work had to be separate from productivity. Yeah, what I've found over my time, and so many examples that when people are having fun and enjoying what they're doing, they're actually more productive.
Yep.
And we're really, as we talk about, what we do at Footers and my tribe, we're trying to move that conversation away from, company culture being about beer fridges and ping pong tables. And because, yeah, that's a nice perk, but that's not what culture is about. Culture is about how we work together, how we treat each other as people, and the work we do. And when we create that fun together, putting a product out that you're proud of, and that doing it with people that you enjoy working with, is really what we try to focus on.
I bet you if I interviewed 2 or 3 of your people that have been there 3+ years, and I asked them to describe the Footers brand, they might or may not talk about catering. They might talk about the culture and the environment in which they get to live. And that's what I want people who are leaders to think about. Who are you creating based on who you are and how you're showing up? I listened to a really interesting podcast the other day, and we have the words, one word in front of leadership, and there's probably 500 of them now, and many, many thousands of books written on it. But this gentleman narrowed it down to 2 things, and I subscribe to both of them, specifically the first one. First of all, I said, it's not about you. Really clean. It's not about you. It's not about your ego. It's not about your position, your title, the experience. It's not about you. It's about the people following you. And as a parent, I hope you'd agree, it's not about us. It's about our children. And our main responsibility is to help them prepare for tomorrow. Then the second thing he said is, it's only about you. Now, it seems contradictory, but when you think about our heart, I'll use your heart leaders in the center, how we show up, how we decide to be every day has a significant impact and influence and potential inspiration to the people next to us. In your company, it's probably your leadership circle, and then from them, they go out to your maybe your line workers, your salespeople, et cetera. But we have an opportunity every day to show up how we want to. So it is about us, but it's how we then impact and influence and inspire other people.
When I think about our team and what we try to create, and the leaders we want to develop within our team, I mean, that's where I think it starts, where it can't just be me doing everything. So when you say, it's not about me, it's not about me having to have control over everything we do. It's not about me having to have my stamp and say and micromanage every piece of it. It's about me setting the example, like you said, so that other people can then in turn do the same. And if we
Yeah.
create an organization of leaders and heartfelt leaders that understand that their job's to come to work, and yes, we have work to do, but how do we continue to help other people and inspire them to do their best job? Um, I think it just creates something that's really magical.
Yeah, and we talked when we talked once before, Anthony. I mentioned the phrase "How may I serve you today," and it resonates with me because then the leader gets to actually say the reason they're here. Something else I subscribe to is leaders are not here to create followers. They're here to create other leaders. You mentioned the phrase "leader." You're developing your leaders within Footers. On February 4th, again, I appreciate your involvement, your agreement to speak and share your wisdom and your culture of Footers. But I was curious, relative to the Leadership Development Day on February 4th, when you first heard about it, what were your thoughts? And then second question was, why did you decide to participate?
Sure. So when I first heard about it, I was excited. I mean, I am similar to you, big fan of learning. For me, education, anything I can get my hands on in terms of books and seminars or TED Talks or all sorts of things. I love it. So to have a whole day curated around leadership and being the best leader you can in all facets of your life, not just at
Sure.
work, that, we've got people that are going to talk about what it means to be a parent and what it means to be a husband or a wife or a spouse. And what does it mean to be a business leader? What does it mean to be a leader in an organization where you don't have a title as a leader? I
Right.
think they're phenomenal topics that we can learn so much from, and I'm excited to hear from a number of the speakers.
Yeah.
To answer your question on why I decided to participate, it's a no-brainer. I mean, this is part of what I love to do. I'm incredibly blessed to have an amazing team, and we have an incredible platform here at Footers to do really cool things. And for me, to launch off and be able to inspire other people is a lot of what drives me. So to be able to get up there and share my story and hopefully inspire people with some of what we've done and make them think differently, it's an honor. So really appreciate the invitation.
Absolutely. And Anthony, there's no doubt your message, your background, your love for people, your intensity around making sure people are growing. Yet, when I say you, I mean you and April. You're in this together. By the way, I love your title as co-founder because it's the truth. You work together hand in step with with April, and it really brings joy to my heart that you bring her up. There's a lot of men and women who have to be the founder or the CEO or the something. And I love the way you share the stage with April, and I look forward to meeting her someday.
She's a rock star. She's awesome, and she does a lot of the heavy lifting at our company. So yeah, it's an honor, and I would not be where I am today without her, and Footers definitely wouldn't be where we are without her. So.
Well, appreciate you wanting to serve what could be thousands of people around the world. I know we have registrations coming in across the pond as we speak, which is really cool. So how you show up that day, Mr. Leader, is you could influence a significant amount of people, but I know you when I say that if one person gets better because of Anthony Lambatos, that we've spent enough time together.
I agree, and I hope I can do that.
You will. So join us on Thursday, February 4th for the Leadership Development Day. It'll be an entire event starting at 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We'll have 16 speakers bring in their short and powerful stories in a very dynamic, fast-paced fashion, and I can't wait to have you there. Again, Anthony, thank you for being with us today on the Servant Leadership Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Greg. Really appreciate it.
All right, buddy.